All right, guys. Hey, it's CarGuy11, and we're doing another live stream today. Haven't done one in a little while. But if you are not familiar, we're also broadcasting these on iTunes. If you search for CarGuy11 on iTunes, you can listen to this podcast instead of watching it, since these are pretty long. But definitely check that out. Also, this live stream is going to be all about the cheap car challenge that I participated in past couple weeks. So if you didn't watch the video, definitely check out that video. It's about a half hour. So bring your popcorn and enjoy the show. I also did a video on the car that I bought, a separate video on that. So definitely check out those two videos if you haven't. And then today we're going to discuss the results and introduce you to the guys that were with me on the challenge. And of course, we're going to talk about what cars we bought and why we bought them, and just all the fun challenges we had with the challenge. So first off, let me introduce Greg, who was one of the team members. How you doing, Greg?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. And then you guys probably also know Tom Gary, who's been on these live streams before.
Yo.
So yeah, let me see, make sure we're good here. We got a few people on. All right, first thing I want to do is talk about what car we bought and why we bought it. So I'll start off with that. We had about 2 weeks, which isn't a lot of time, to find our $500 car. And I actually had a lot of trouble. I went through tons of ads. I saw many vehicles, and most were not drivable or had a major issue that I knew wasn't going to work for a 800-mile trip.
Let me stop you right there. See, CarGuy11's Mr. Foo-Foo must buy a new car all the time, so he's not used to the experience.
Oh God, here we go.
That is true. That this is only the second used car I've ever bought in my life.
And
so.
he is not a young man anymore, so that says a lot.
But no, I mean, I did have a lot of trouble. I think one Cavalier I looked at was a manual, which is cool. I had a slave cylinder issue, which you have to pull the whole trans to get to. So I looked at a diesel Jetta, and the high pressure fuel pump was bad on that, which is we couldn't even start it. So yeah, many issues, but I wanted to pick a little bit more of a fun vehicle, and unfortunately I couldn't find it. But I came across this 1993 Honda Accord, and it was pretty close to me, and it ran and drove. Was not inspected or anything, but it was an automatic, unfortunately. But I felt, I mean, I was running out of time, and it ran and drove, which is the number one thing. I felt it would be safe to drive 800 miles, and it made it. So that's what I ended up going with. And again, I would have liked to pick something a little more fun and manual, but I just couldn't find it in the time we had. So how about Greg? Why don't you tell us what you bought, why you bought it?
Yeah, yeah. So I bought a 2000 Saab 9.3 turbo. Well, so I had the same trouble as Marco. You know, there's just not a lot out there for $500. I did find a nice Toyota Camry that was like an estate sale. It was an older person's car. She passed away. Her family was selling it. Her son was selling it. I should have bought that car. I mean, it ran and drove, but I was like, we had discussions about this before, and I was like, I don't want to. I mean, Toyota Camry's kind of boring, and it's probably going to run, and it's probably going to make the whole trip, and I want something a little bit more interesting. So that was my downfall right there. So I looked and looked and looked, and found a couple cars, but they all had major issues with them. And I found the Saab, and I was like, all right, it's a little bit of an interesting car. Went out and took a look. It had a couple problems with it. It didn't run at the time, but spent some time with the guy, looked at the engine. The belt was slipping off. Had a few things going on with it. I was like, I can fix this. I got 2 weeks. If I buy it now, I got 2 weeks to work on it. I can get it running. It'll be fine. So I had a trailer back to my house, AAA. I didn't have to pay anything, thank God, to have that trailer back to my house. And I probably had it running within a week. It was running pretty good, and I drove it around Cranberry a little bit. But yeah. So that's what I picked, and it turned out to be a fatal mistake. But
we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
All right.
So there you go.
Tom Gear, what did you pick and why?
Yeah, so mine was a 1991 Toyota Previa. And the first thing you probably say is, what the hell is a Toyota Previa? So it is the second type of minivan that Toyota ever came out with. Previa actually stands for preview in like Italian. So this was kind of a revolutionary design. It was also one of the most expensive minivans back in the 90s. It never actually caught on. There was a few reasons for that. One, it was $37,000 at the high end, which was insane for what it is, and also just insane in general. It was also mid-engined, which was really cool. It allowed for some unique design aspects, but it also limited the size of the engine. And at the time, Chrysler had their very popular Town and Country, which to this day is still, I think, one of the best-selling minivans, and that had a V6. These were, little 4-cylinders, flat fours, reliable though. These vehicles were known to go over 1 million miles, kind of like a lot of other Toyotas of the day. So I thought, the fact that it's mid-engine, and this van in particular is rear-wheel drive. It had an option for all-wheel drive, which is really cool, and supercharged. Unfortunately, mine were neither of those, but the fact that it was rear-wheel drive and mid-engine, I thought, this is my sports van. I'm going to look no further. And it actually was available in a manual. Unfortunately, this is not a manual. Those are very, very rare. And that would have been, I think, the icing on the cake. Now, I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking for vehicles because I look for used cars whenever I'm bored, which is quite frequent. I mostly buy used cars. I've only ever bought one new car. So I only spent roughly 2 hours looking for this vehicle, and I found it about 7 miles from my house, and it was an estate sale. He had 4 of these vans, and he had 20-some vehicles in total, and this was the last of the vans, and I bought it, and I had it up to 80 miles an hour within 5 minutes of ownership. That's how much I trusted the vehicle right off the get-go. So more to come on that.
All right. Yeah, we'll get into all the issues we ran along the way. But Tom, why don't you kind of describe the challenge, and then we can go into all the different individual challenges of the whole cheap car.
Yeah, no problem. So this was kind of something I've been wanting to do for a few years now. However, I kept putting it aside, and before you know it, summer's over and it's not good weather, or no one had the money or whatever. So I finally decided to go forward with this. A little late notice for the people that were involved. It was actually kind of also part of my 30th birthday kind of celebration.
Old man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was trying to figure out what to do for my 30th. It's a little bit different. And we originally had more than just the 3 of us involved in this little challenge. Some people dropped out, and I actually had to remove one person from the group due to other issues. But yeah, this was kind of a Top Gear style cheap car challenge. I didn't want to exactly copy them, but I think most people would pick up hints of Top Gear in the challenge if you've seen the video. So the basis of this idea, and this is where I put a little bit of a spin on it, was to try to find a vehicle for $500 or less. And we have a destination in mind. In this case, it's Ocean City, Maryland, which from Pittsburgh to Ocean City is about a 6.5-hour drive if you drive straight. So it's a pretty decent drive. It's a nice destination. I love the beach. But, you have obviously challenges along the way, challenges there and challenges getting back.
Plus, before we had our pre-meet challenges.
Yeah, and to allow for time and to get more things out of the way, we actually met up a week ahead of time, and we did some challenges about a week ahead of time. Then we had about a week to modify the vehicles as we wanted, and we had some rules following that, which we'll get into. Now, the beauty of this is if you do the challenge right, and this is the awesome thing. Let's say you buy a vehicle for $400, and you don't have to put any money into it or very little money into it. And then obviously you got some expenses for the trip, so like fuel, food, and then hotel costs, which, you know, split the hotel, whatever, it could be marginal. Let's say you got $700, maybe $800 wrapped up in this entire challenge, this whole trip between your expenses and the cost of the vehicle and stuff like that. If you put some sweat equity into the vehicle at the end of the trip, meaning you clean it up, maybe you fix a few things, and then you make it very presentable, you could, in theory, sell the vehicle and break even or make a little bit of money. So the great thing is, at the end of the day, you can have an awesome experience and almost have it for free or at little to no cost. So I don't think any of us have actually.
We'll see about that.
But we'll see how that turns out. But that was kind of the premise in my head of what I imagined. So we did have some initial challenges which everyone knew about from the get-go. So
well, not all of them, but just general.
Yeah, just a few.
There were a total of 6 initial challenges that were made available immediately to all participants about 2.5 weeks prior to the actual start.
So why don't you, go ahead and tell us what they were.
So the first challenge was to find a vehicle for $500 or less. If you went over by every dollar, you lost a point. For every dollar under 500, you gained a point. So obviously there's some incentives. So, which, by the way, the big incentive here is to buy the cheapest vehicle, not only because of points, but like I had mentioned, you will have the opportunity, perhaps, if you sell the vehicle, to break even or even make a little bit of money. So that's a great incentive. The second initial challenge was vehicle mileage. So you got points associated for having the vehicle with the least mileage, and the person with the most mileage got no points. So you're not exactly penalized, but you're not gaining anything either. We'll kind of run through how that played out. Vehicle condition. Now, this was kind of best overall condition. This was, how was the body? How was it mechanically? Does it stink? Is the interior dirty? Does it actually drive? Is it safe? Is there a lot of rust? Whatever. Is there stuff hanging off the car? So this was kind of another big point challenge because you got 100 points for the best condition, 50 for the runner-up, and 0 for the person that had the worst vehicle overall.
And we had an independent adjudicator.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's right, we did.
Yeah. So I may end up changing.
Thank God for him. I wouldn't have gotten any points.
The vehicle condition, we needed someone that had, obviously wasn't biased. So we had our friend Joe step in, and he's actually in the car business. So something he looks at pretty much every day anyway. Judged our vehicles, and we'll talk about the results there in a second. The fourth initial challenge is, can you make it to Ocean City, Maryland? So it's simple. Does your vehicle make it to our destination? 100 points for everyone that makes it. And as we already know, Greg
did not.
Greg did not make it. And unfortunately, if your vehicle doesn't make it, you kind of just forfeit the whole thing.
Well, you still get points up to then, but you're not making any more points.
There were still points that Greg was able to get, but I don't know how you could possibly win this challenge by not actually making it throughout.
Well, if one of us would have not made it back home, it's possible.
Yeah, I think the only way is if everyone broke down, you would then go off of the points that you gained throughout the rest of the challenge, or the parts that you actually survived, right? The one interesting one, which played out nicely, was vehicle malfunctions and breakdowns. So you lost 5 points for every single time you had an issue with the vehicle. This was either Either you had to have the hood up, you got a flat tire, you had maybe a light go out.
Windshield wiper falls off.
Wiper coming off. Oil overfilling the engine.
By the way, I think I should have got points for catching your wiper.
Yeah, that did come in handy. And then the last initial challenge was simple. Can you make it back to Pittsburgh, assuming you made it to Ocean City, Maryland? So that was what everyone knew ahead of time. So you kind of got the general theme of where this was going to go. And there were a number of other challenges that we had. We actually had 3 additional rounds of challenges that took place, which we'll go into in just a minute here.
Yeah. So is
that a good summary?
Yep. Sounds good.
Thanks,
and then obviously you guys know Greg didn't make it.
Did not.
So, but he still earned some points, just not enough.
Yeah, so
Palm Gear and I both made it back as well.
Greg broke down before the challenge even started.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's right. I did. Yeah, I was in the Giant Eagle parking lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we couldn't show on the video just because the video would have been like 2 hours long. Like I liked making my videos in the past. Plus, we didn't have a film crew, which would be really cool if we were able to have that.
Next year.
There was a lot of things that didn't get caught on camera. There was a lot of things that didn't get filmed for whatever reason. But yeah, the one thing is right off the get-go, Greg broke down at our meeting place, and I get a phone call. I'm en route to meet everybody, and guys, I think I'm out already.
Before we even start.
So Greg, why don't you explain what happened?
Yeah, so I didn't have a chance to drive the Saab too much before the challenge. I mean, I drove it on short trips around my local area, back and forth, but I didn't make any long trips with it. So the morning of the challenge, I had a meeting downtown for my job. Drove it downtown, parked it in the parking garage, absolutely no problem. Went to my meeting, left my meeting, grabbed some lunch, and headed out to Monroeville. Got to Monroeville, absolutely no problems. And I forgot my Easy Pass at home. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm not driving all the way home to get my Easy Pass. So thankfully, I talked to Marco. Marco's like, oh, yeah, you can pick him up at Giant Eagle. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go drive the Giant Eagle real quick, and I'll meet you guys at the meeting point. So I pull in the Giant Eagle, go get my Easy Pass, come out, and I'm getting ready to go meet Marco and Tom. And, yeah, back out of the spot, and all of a sudden, my lights light up on my dashboard, my power steering goes out. I'm like, what the hell? So I get it, pull it back into the spot, pop the hood, the damn serpentine belt's off. So I'm like, ah, crap. And then I forgot my breaker bar to move the belt adjuster so I could the belt tensioner so I could put the belt back on. So Tom had to come to my rescue there because he had a part to help me put the serpentine back on. But yeah, I was a little concerned right off the get-go from that. Yeah, and then you know, as we progressed and got the belt back on, we went to stop and get gas at Sheetz. And,
a half mile down the road.
A half mile down the road, and the belt popped off again. So yeah, I knew I wasn't going to make it. I mean, at that point, I was like, well, I'm not going to make it, so I might as well just, you know, have some fun. Because I was like, there's no way I'm making it Ocean City. This thing's probably going to be a problem the whole way.
But we
I didn't really know how bad it was going to get, but
right.
I knew it was going to be a problem.
We didn't want Greg to give up, so we fixed the belt again, and then
we did.
We headed on our way.
Yeah, so it was an interesting start. It actually was kind of, and this none of this was, you know, planned. I mean, this all just happened. We didn't stage any of this. You know, I think it is funner though when there are incidents, hopefully minor ones. And you know, between the three of us, we had enough mechanical ability, in my opinion, to fix pretty much almost anything, unless, well, in the case of Greg Saab, it blew up.
We could have fixed it if we wanted to stay overnight in Breezewood.
Yeah. You know,
which I didn't want to do. Yeah.
But
well,
you gotta make it makes for a better story. I mean, I had more fun on this, but I've been having more fun telling the story now that I broke down. If I would have said we all got $500 cars and we went to Ocean City and came back, I mean, what the hell fun is that, right?
Well, so you pay $500 cars, but what's interesting?
Well, I paid. All right, yeah, I paid
not $500.
I paid $600.
The car the car that was the worst was the most expensive.
Right.
But it was also the non-Japanese car. That was the GM car.
Well,
Well, GM Scandinavian. All right, it's half and half.
yeah.
So Greg spent the most out of the three of us on his vehicle. He spent $600. So he lost 100 points right off the bat.
I did.
CarGuy11 actually gained 50 points because his was 450, and then I had the cheapest, which at 425. So I had 75 points right off the bat, which is an interesting story. I originally bought the van for $500, and we did the title and all that. And then the guy's like, "Hey, follow me now to my father's storage shed. The back seats are in his storage shed." So we drive there, and we could not find the seats. And this van normally seats 7, so there's 2 captain's chairs and then 1 bench. It was supposed to go in the far back, and they were all gone. So he's like, "Well, I'll try to find them, but I don't think I'm going to find them." So I said, "Hey, give me some money back." So we negotiated a little bit, and I got $75 back. So it was a win-win, and actually it came in handy because I was able to store a lot of my stuff, and then eventually Greg's stuff.
Yeah, thankfully he had at least 1 extra seat in the van.
Yeah, which actually had me a little bit concerned because I had brought so many tools.
Yes, you did.
And I kind of overpacked for the trip too. That I was legitimately worried that if my vehicle broke down, there was no way we were cramming all of it into Marco's tiny little Honda Accord plus all of us. So that was a little bit of a concern. But luckily, the Previa came through. Some minor incidents, but it got home safely. In fact, when I got it home, Greg and I had a little joust on the turnpike. After we had filled up, I got that damn thing up to 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It was freaking. It has these big tires on it.
I was worried about those tires. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like,
it was like it got its second wind. I was passing people left and right. I shouldn't admit that, but I'm like, you know what? If it breaks down now or explodes, I don't care.
Yeah, we were in Mexico at the time, so it's no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the turnpike's so
the Mexico Turnpike. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was 90 kilometers an hour, by the way, 95 kilometers an hour.
Right.
Right.
But why don't you just briefly go over, Tom, the pre-meet, who won what on the pre-meet?
Yeah, so, real quick, going over the rest of the initial challenges. So vehicle mileage, long story short, Greg actually had the lowest mileage.
I did.
I had the highest mileage.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I don't know exactly how many miles were on that Saab because I didn't ever told you guys this while we were traveling, but the odometer wasn't ticking.
I knew it. I said that.
Yeah.
So initially,
the only time the odometer ticked is when the speedometer was working.
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually put, in the official record, I put 3 miles on the car because the odometer only worked for 3 miles.
Oh, wow.
So who knows how many miles were actually on the car.
Yeah. So, and that's what I thought when we did our initial vehicle presentations. I'm like, well, the speedometer's not working. How does the vehicle know how many miles it's accruing? So that's funny. Marco was the runner-up for that. So the thing that you have to realize here is buying a vehicle with low mileage is not for this particular challenge is not necessarily the best idea, especially if it's been sitting. If a vehicle, in my case, that went actually has over 227,000 miles right now, which is almost from the Earth to the moon. If the vehicle has gone that far, chances are it's going to go another 1,000 miles. So
was it sitting or not?
It sat for a little bit, but I mean, it's a Toyota. At the end of the day, it's going to start up and it's going to go.
That's
it has some issues, but best overall condition. Greg actually did win that because he had the newer of the vehicle. He had a 2000. The body was in the best shape. And
it didn't look like somebody had diarrhea in my side of the car. So my seats were relatively clean.
Yeah,
the interior was definitely the nicest.
Yeah.
But I ended up being the runner-up for that. And then Marco came into last because his vehicle was as awful.
Okay.
He had an exhaust leak, which actually got so bad that he was delusional at the end of the leg of the first step.
Yeah,
how are you
breathing
feeling,
in the fumes. Yeah. I needed a gas mask.
And then obviously, so breakdowns. So over the whole course of the entire trip, Greg had 7 breakdowns, which, by the way, the 7 is up into the point where we abandoned it on the side of the road. So in theory, that number should have been way more than that if we actually kept going. And actually, next time we do this, I'm going to allow for pretty much double the amount of time it takes to get to an area. Because I think we could have probably gotten that vehicle to Ocean City.
I think so too, but I mean, it was getting dark. It was raining. I mean, did you guys really want to stand and spend time on the side of the road?
We had awful weather going down.
Yeah, we left a little later than we wanted to because of the different delays, like Greg before we even kicked off. So this was kind of a proof of concept, by the way. So I know that this can be done. I'm going to throw this out to everyone watching and that is willing and able to participate. Please contact me. We'll provide that information. I'm going to have an email address set up where you guys can contact me. We'll do some discussion, and if you're interested, you can register for this. But I'm probably going to limit it to 10 cars, at most 10 cars for next year, because I just don't think I can manage a group bigger than that. But anyways, this is going to be a yearly thing, so look forward to some stuff coming out on this. So anyways, Greg had 7 breakdowns. Marco had 4. I actually had 6. So Greg had lost 35 points. Marco lost 20, and I lost 30. And then making it back to Pittsburgh, obviously Marco and I did. We got 100 points each, and then Craig got 0 getting back. So anyways, so about a week prior to us leaving, we met up and we went through some initial kind of challenges, and our first round was a bunch of things, some practical tests, which were really fun, and then some just general like statistics. So like, for example, I'm just going to blow through some of these. So how old is your vehicle? So how old is your vehicle?
Newest gets the most points, of course.
Yeah, but I don't. I just realized I had a typo in here. So yeah, the newest got the most points. So Greg had the 2000, so he got 10 points. Mark had a 93, so he got the runner-up, and I had the oldest as a 91. So I didn't get anything there. The cost of your vehicle when new. So the logic behind this one was if you have a vehicle that actually cost the most when it was new, and you bought it now for under $500, you got the best bang for your buck. So mine actually was the most expensive vehicle at $37,000. Greg had the runner-up at 30, and Mark had the cheapest at 22. And then the top speed of your vehicle when new. So Greg, once again, took that. His was apparently 143 miles an hour. I had the slowest at 112. And CarGuy11, 116. How much does your vehicle weigh? I had no chance of winning this. I had the at 3,500 pounds, and Greg was the runner-up. I'm sorry, Greg was the.
Mine was like.
I should have been the lightest,
something like that. I think Marco's was the lightest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marco's was the lightest at 2,700, and Greg was a runner-up at 2,900. So. And then we went through engine displacement, largest engine. So Greg had the smallest, Marco had the runner-up, and I had the largest at 2.4 liters. Horsepower, 185 for Greg. Well done. He won that.
New anyway.
This is when new. Obviously, we didn't have dynos and stuff to test, but
Greg, your turbo still worked though, because we did drive we did drive all the vehicles. So Greg's was definitely the fastest when it was running.
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah, fastest, but nowhere near safest.
Dogs are safe. I could have flipped it over, dropped it on the roof.
Well, that means
your episode
been in an accident. If you actually look at the video,
wow, his one wheel was misplaced, or
the whole axle pushed back.
Yeah, it still ran. It was fine.
Yeah, it was not good. So I had the second most horsepower at 142, and then Mark had the least at 125. And then we did one, how recently was your vehicle inspected? So when did it last pass inspection? So mine was inspected up till actually this year. And actually, this one was a little bit of a surprise because we all came within a year of one another. I would have thought at least someone didn't have a vehicle inspected for a long time, but Marco had the runner-up on that 2016, and Greg was in 2015. So then we had our first practical challenge, which was how well can you parallel park your vehicle? And the oldest person here that has been driving the longest did not successfully park his vehicle.
I just hit the curb. I hit the curb.
He hit the curb. So because he hit the curb, he lost the point. You had to be able to park the vehicle within 2 moves without hitting anything like a cone or a curb. So Margo and I both did that. We both got 10 points. The second one was a handbrake test. So we found a hill, which is not very hard in Pennsylvania. And you had to put the vehicle in neutral and then engage the handbrake and take your feet off the pedals. And make a long story short, both the Saab and the Honda held. My van did not. So I lost 5 points on that, and those guys gained 5 points each. Burnout. So this one was a controversial one. This also one was very difficult because we all had automatics.
Yes.
So it doesn't make it the easiest car to do a burnout in. And on top of that, we had very old vehicles that were underpowered. So I, in my head, and as a kid, I had an automatic. I had an automatic Kevlar. I knew how to do a burnout in an automatic. It's the same with doing a burnout in a manual that is very underpowered. You put it in reverse. That is your lowest gear, so you're going to have the most torque. So I tried doing it forwards, and I didn't succeed. So then I put it in reverse, and I actually did a pretty decent. I laid some pretty decent 11s on the pavement. And these guys just tripped tires.
Plus, because yours was rear-wheel drive,
mine was
less weight in the back, and
so
easier.
What we ended up doing is I gave myself 10 points, and I gave the other two here 5 points because they were at least able to chirp their tires, and they left a little teeny tiny mark on the pavement.
Just barely.
Yeah, just a little skid mark. So that one was interesting. So. Roughly 5-6 days passed, and we met up to leave for Ocean City, Maryland. We had to enhance and decorate our vehicles. So this was in the time in between. You had 6 days to enhance and decorate your vehicle, and you really the idea here was to spend any money that you had left over from your $500 budget to spend on enhancing your vehicle. And that could be whatever you want. It could be just fixing stuff. It could be, making it silly or whatever. So you guys want to walk through what you did?
So I'll start. I did nothing. Well, for one, I had no budget left.
Yeah.
And the timeline we had between finding a car and me fixing my car and getting it running and all that, I just didn't have any time. So I will embarrassly say I did nothing. So,
but no, it's not true because you did buy a battery.
I did buy a battery. Well, I had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have got out of my driveway. So yeah, I bought a battery.
Yeah, we also had to consider the cost we put into the car to fix it. Like I had to buy a tire, wiper blades, stuff like that. So I actually went over the 500 limit as well and couldn't add money for enhancements. But what I did, I made it like sort of like a tuner theme. I put all these racing stickers on. I put I had an APR tuned license plate frame from when I tuned my Audi. And then I also put a BMW plate frame on the front from a previous vehicle. And also I put a American flag as the antenna because the antenna was broke off of it. So that was it was pretty fun. Yeah,
I'm very creative, if I have to say so myself. I gave him a lot of shit for just basically putting stickers on the car. See, now I actually thought mine out. So first off, I had to do a little bit of work to my van. So the first thing is I had to buy a battery. When I bought my vehicle, it needed to be jump started, and every time it stopped, it literally wouldn't even click over. The battery was completely shot. In fact, it was so shot that I've never actually seen this happen, but the terminals on the batteries were actually loose. So it wasn't safe. It was dead. The battery was like 7 years old anyway. So I bought a $50 battery. I mean, this battery was tiny. The idea here was just to get by, right? And I had coupon codes on top of that. So I drove it around. I put actually like 400 miles on my van, by the way, before the challenge, because I wanted to have everything go wrong while I was still at home and could fix it. And
I think I understand why you did it, but I think this $500 car challenge is way more fun when we break down and like we have issues and we're standing out in the rain trying to fix shit.
Well,
that's just my opinion.
You're right. However,
tell me, how much did you love walking around the EMC office telling everybody my car was shit and I didn't make it? Come on, just be honest. You must have loved doing that. I know you did it. So
I didn't. Not yet.
Not yet, exactly. Right.
So I had a kind of a major thing happen to the vehicle. Long story short, I got my truck wheels powder coated, media blasted, and my truck's my vehicle to transport everything. It's big. Well, how do you transport my truck wheels when the truck's up on jack stands? So I actually used my van, hooded all my wheels into it, and I took it down to the powder coaters, and on my way home, I lost my brakes. I mean, I had no pedal, and then at the very end, it was brakes fully on. And then it started raining, and the wipers were completely shot. So I was at the side of the road for hours waiting for the rain to stop, and I'm like panicking because I have no brakes. And I really didn't want to get this thing towed. So I drove it like 30 miles home with no brakes. I went slow, I kept my distance, and I downshifted, and I used what was left of my handbrake to come to a stop. Yeah, which is actually probably why my handbrake
yeah,
right.
I knew that handbrake did work because it held on my hill in front of my house. So I think I just wore out the parking shoes trying to stop my van because I didn't have brakes. Anyway, I had to put a new master cylinder in, not a new, I got a refurbished master cylinder for like $45. It took me 10 minutes to put it in, and I had to have someone help me bleed the brakes. So if that had happened on the road, that would have been that would have delayed us a little bit of time. Yeah. Especially because I could not find this master cylinder anywhere in stock. I had to have it overnighted at Advanced Auto Parts. So that would have been bad. And I'm the type of guy where I would have tried to drive that vehicle with no brakes. So anyway, so I put about, between the battery, some brake fluid, I had to buy a little bit of coolant. I put about $110 into my vehicle. So I was I was up $75. So I spent more than like what, $25 or whatever from my $500 budget. So I didn't spend any money enhancing the vehicle. The only thing I did was I drew on the white marker pen. I had all this real estate, so I wrote all kinds of slogans all over the van. I had a lot of plastic dip left over from some other projects I was working on. And I put racing stripes on the front hood, and then I put angry eyes, which looks awesome. I may even keep them. I'm going to advertise it with the angry eyes. I polished the headlights because they were so oxidized, they were dangerous. And I wrote like sports van on dry erase marker on the back hatch. So I won that challenge because it was the most creative, and it made a lot of people laugh. I actually had people stopping on the highway. We would be at like a red light or whatever, and I had people looking, people talking to me. It was fantastic. I had a ton of fun.
All right, so now we're on to the rally day, right? We covered all those challenges.
Yep. So yeah, the rally day, we put some hashtags, our social media accounts on the back window. So you got points for every time you had someone tweet you or DM you on Instagram, and
someone did for me.
Yeah, in theory, it will work.
It needs to be more clear, though. It was very hard to read, I think. It's too much.
Yeah.
I can tell you, following you guys, I could barely read what it said.
Right.
Yeah.
So I still want to do that, but I probably got to figure out a better way of writing it, or with a different type of pen. And then,
what do you think about vinyl? If we do it next year and we have more time, we just get vinyl stickers or something like that.
we could, yeah, a livery kit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'd not go the whole way and like do a whole car, but just like for the back window.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fuel economy, I lost that one. 22.7 miles a gallon. Freaking Marco got 30 miles a gallon. Greg didn't qualify because
I actually don't know how well I did.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Yeah.
So we should actually talk about that. So we made it we were about on the road for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we get off the turnpike, and we had two-way radios or two-way radio apps on our phone, so we were able to talk to one another. And we hear, guys, we got to pull over. I heard a large bang. We got to pull over to the nearest gas station. We pull over. I look behind me. There's this smoke coming out of the engine. I kind of saw it on the video, but there was oil and coolant all over the pavement. It was bad, and Greg was ready to give up right then and there.
Yeah, which maybe we should have, because it was like a perfect spot. We just got off the turnpike. It was.
Yeah, I could have pushed it into the parking lot.
Yeah, we were at a gas station, and yeah, what happened, Greg?
I mean, I honestly, I wasn't too concerned until we popped the hood and there was literally no coolant. I mean, because I filled it up before we left, and I checked it before we left, and it wasn't leaking at all. So when we got there, and yeah, it was completely empty. I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I pulled through the Easy Pass lane, no problem. And there's like a little bump in the Easy Pass lane. I ran over the bump, and then the lights lit up on my dashboard. So I saw there's like a battery light, a power steering light, and all sorts of lights. And then I heard a clunk. And then I went to turn, because I don't know if anybody's ever been to Breezewood who's watching. I mean, it's like an insane like turn to actually get into Breezewood off the highway. And I was like struggling to turn the car because of no power steering. That's when I called you guys. And as I'm talking to you over the radio, like smoke is pouring out of my head. I'm like, oh shit.
It was funny because I was in the back the whole time. Like, it was Tom, Greg, and me. And for some reason we changed positions, and Greg was behind, so we didn't really see him smoking. I forget why we changed positions, but yeah, we lucky Greg called us and said, hey, we gotta pull over, but we all met up then at the gas station. But
yeah, when we went to that gas station, oh my god, it was hysterical.
Yeah, so we spent a little bit of time there, and we took the entire belt off. We cleaned it, we dried it, we sprayed as much of the oil off as we could.
Filled up the water.
Yeah, we filled it up, and we had it going for what, like a half mile.
Yeah, a good half mile she lasted. Yeah. I think our assessment of the water pump was correct. I think the water pump was seizing up, which was causing the belt to fall off, and probably was leaking like crazy coolant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's what happened. The water pump was seizing. The pulley that turns the water pump was throwing the belt off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, we could have fixed it. I mean, that water pump's not hard to get to, but I didn't want to sit there all night.
Not hard to get to. I don't know about that. I think that would have been a nightmare job. And how would you have found the part, too?
Yeah, we would have never found the part. I mean, we'd have to drive around Breezewood, every AutoZone and frickin' Napa in the damn place. And who knows if they'd have one.
Oh yeah, we had some fun with that. Unfortunately, we decided to abandon the vehicle. What you didn't see on film was at the very end, Greg took an axe to the
I did. To the front of the car, just for fun.
Well, we should say the axe was holding up the hood.
Well, yeah, I brought the axe so I could hold up my hood. Yeah,
and it came in handy at the end.
Yeah. How many times do we have to have the hood held up? So yeah, good thing I brought it.
Yeah, you're thinking. So yeah, we basically removed everything of value, even took the battery out.
Yeah. And, well, that was the only thing of value, was my $100 battery that I wanted. By the way, I want that back. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so then we got about, I'd say probably a half hour down the road. Greg jumped in my vehicle. We loaded my vehicle up with all his stuff, and the rain started coming down pretty heavy again. And the night before, I rigged up my wipers. This vehicle, I've never seen a vehicle like this. So they use wiper cartridges, so you basically change out the rubber bits, but the arm itself stays on. And it's not like you change a blade today. Basically slide it out. And the only place I could find where you can get them is on eBay or from Toyota, and it was too much money. So I attempted to take a really cheap wiper blade apart at Walmart and put the rubber blade on it, and it didn't work. So I ended up drilling a couple holes through the plastic of the wiper, and I used screws and bolts to hold the plastic onto the metal wiper arm on the Previa. And the arm that I thought was going to come off stayed on, and the one that came off, well, it was the one I thought I had actually secured well. So we're going down the road, and the wiper's going fast, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, the wiper, I mean, it was literally ready to fall off onto the road, and Greg reaches out and grabs it from the windshield. So it was actually a good thing that he was in the car. So we pulled over, and we tried rigging it up with zip ties and whatnot, and it just wasn't working. So
fortunately, it was the passenger side one. The driver's side one was okay. So.
Right. Yeah, that would have been a little bit more of an emergency. So we ended up just taking the whole entire wiper assembly off on the passenger side, just because I didn't want it scratching the shit out of the windshield glass. So that was my only real issue the whole trip. There were some other minor things that happened, but nothing too crazy. But yeah, so we got down to Ocean City.
It was pretty late. It took
a lot longer. Yeah. We wasted about 2.5, 3 hours on fixing stuff.
The Saab. Yeah.
But anyway, so when we were down in Ocean City, we did a performance test. So this, I didn't have a track rented out or a drag strip or whatever, so we found a place in Mexico, actually. The part of Mexico exists in Maryland, if you didn't know. The Mexicans annexed near Assateague Island. So, we're on this little Mexican territory in Assateague Island, and we did a performance test. So the idea was to go 0 to 30 and back down to 0. So this is great because it's testing not only the performance of your vehicle, but how well your brakes work. And I definitely had the best brakes. Unfortunately, I also had the biggest vehicle, the best.
Yeah, your car was too heavy for that challenge. Is problem.
Yeah, but I did do a very impressive burnout at the beginning of the acceleration, which you can't really hear it on the film, but it was quite windy and whatnot. But I came in second on that one, and Marco won that one because he stopped in the shortest distance. So the idea was the person that stopped in the shortest distance did best, because obviously you're accelerating the fastest and you're stopping the soonest. So,
which I won that challenge.
Well, yeah. So Greg, you should explain what you did.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, I didn't want to have to be a passenger the whole weekend because that would suck, and I wouldn't get to participate in any of the fun shit. So I rented a car, which I was trying to get a halfway decent car, but what I got was an awful Hyundai Elantra, which is, I don't know who's buying these things because they're the most boring, awful car you could ever drive. But so I did the 0-30 to 0 in the Elantra, and it actually did pretty well. And we basically used it as sort of like a marker of what a modern car would do compared to what our $500 old cars would do. So.
Yep, and we also had a bumper sticker magnet that throughout the trip is "I love cross dressing," which I got from another rally, and it started out on mine. It made its way to Marco's, and we had it on the vehicle the whole way down to Ocean City. You realize it.
Yeah, but then when I put it on Greg's car, and didn't even notice it. Like I actually did it at a traffic light. They didn't even notice I came up to their car. And
I had no idea.
To be fair, I think if we do this again next year, I think we got to get a few more bumper stickers. And if somebody breaks down, they're going to have to drive a shame car. I think I kind of like that idea, don't you? I mean, isn't that fair?
Yeah.
They don't make it.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they'd have to get a vehicle, or someone would have to ride or be willing to offer their ride, so definitely. So one of the other things we did is we we did another kind of social media challenge, but in this case we took a glamour shot really of our vehicle in a kind of a scenic area. We went away for about a half hour. We picked our scenic area and we posted it to our social media, and we basically added up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and this one was kind of unfair because Marco has a larger following, but yeah, I only had 22 likes, Greg had 7, and Marco had 70. So you had
thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
One point for every like. So I may end up throwing that one out because this is a little unfair. In fact, if it wasn't for that, I actually would have won the challenge.
Oh.
Oh, it's true because you had 571 points total. I had 527. So we take 7 points away.
I don't know how many people are watching this, but this is Tom's. He does this all the time. Anytime he loses a challenge, he starts changing the rules and in the interpretation of the rules so he wins.
Ignoring the challenge.
Come on,
Marco, we need to throw out the burnout contest the way too. Then.
Yeah. Come on, Marco, back me up on this. Does he not do this?
Yeah.
I'm okay with him winning. He had the best overall vehicle. It made. Now the one thing I know I'm definitely changing is the fuel economy because I thought about this and I'm like, with more people, this doesn't scale well. So what we're going to do is instead of just throwing 100 points to someone for getting the most fuel economy, we're going to have a target fuel economy number. So let's say 20 miles to the gallon. For every mile to the gallon over 20, you're going to get some points. So everyone has a chance of scoring there. So that skewed the numbers a little bit too. But anyways, the only real last challenge was, well, there was 2. So there was insurance costs. So how much was it a month to insure your vehicle? Greg's was the cheapest at $20 a month. Mine was the second cheapest at $27.
See, that one's a little bit, it depends on your area, depends on your insurance company.
Depends on your age, which helps me.
Age, yes.
Since Marco, flips vehicles and stuff, he's got he lost that one. So Greg actually, this was an instance where Greg actually scored points and didn't even have a
car. Yeah.
And then obviously there was fuel economy back to Pittsburgh, which I lost, of course. And then the last one was how practical was your vehicle. So we kind of gave, this one was interesting because if my vehicle had all of its seats, of course it would have been the most practical. So we actually said I came in second for that, and Marco had scored the most since he had a trunk, decent-sized trunk, and was able to seat 3 other people.
Yeah. And JA asked, did you guys actually insure the cars for the trip or just slap old plates on them like Ferretti does?
Who's Ferretti? I don't know who that is.
Rob. Yeah,
Spaghetti Ferretti. Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually all did it legally because, we were crossing states. And we didn't want any issues. I mean, doesn't cost a whole lot, and it's not worth it.
No, I mean, we're only insuring the cars for a month, right? I mean, even me less. So what? $30? It's not even worth.
Yeah, and
$20 is not worth it.
It's something. I mean, we're driving vehicles we're not really comfortable with, or no, anything can happen. I mean, we only had liability only.
Yeah, minimum.
I guess the question is, Greg, what would have happened if you didn't register it and didn't insure it and it was left on the side of the road? Then they would have never known it was yours, right?
Well, the title would have still been in my name because I did title it.
So then you probably would have got in trouble.
Yeah, I probably would have got in trouble. Yeah, no doubt.
So that was pretty much the rally. We had a lot of fun. But Greg, what actually happened to your vehicle?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
That's
a great question.
After we left it, we discussed going back to get it on the way back, but then go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, well, that day just wasn't going to work because I had to get home. But so my plan was the following weekend to go out there and have Cars for Kids. I don't know if everybody heard Cars for Kids, but that you can donate old cars to them as a charity. And the car doesn't have to be running. So if it's not running, they basically take it to a salvage yard or whatever and get the most money they can out of the car. So called Cars for Kids, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, to put the donation through. They took them forever to give me back somebody who could actually pick up the car. Some place in Pittsburgh called You Pick or Pull or something like that. Anyway, I had to get it out Saturday because Saturday is the only day I had to actually drive out to Breezewood because it is 2 hours away from me. So they just, I mean, the process was awful. The place that they picked, I called them 3 times. They never called me back. It took forever to get back to me. And in the middle of Saturday, I actually called Cars for Kids and said, hey, look, I can't get a hold of these guys. I need to get the car out today. I was like, can you guys, like, find me another place? So they did actually re-queue it, found another company to come out and pick the car up, but they didn't get back to me till Monday. And it's like, it's too late now. I was like, I can't drive out to Breezewood during the week. I have a job. So I called the state police and said, hey, so what happens if I don't pick a car up the road? And they basically just told me, if it's still there, they basically call a salvage yard. The salvage yard picks the car up. They tow it to their salvage yard. If I want the car back, I have to go to the salvage yard, pay for towing, and pay for like a daily rental fee for it sitting in their yard. And after 20 days, I don't pick it up. They basically submit to the state a mechanic's title, and the car becomes theirs. So I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah, it's theirs. Good. Because I already have 600 plus a battery into this car. It's like, I am not like wasting gas to drive out there and all this other crap. It's like, I don't want to put another cent in that piece of garbage. So I just let him have it. It
was still on the side of the road then?
When I got my first letter of abandonment was, I want to say, Tuesday of last week. It was still on the side of the road. Yes. And they said I had a week to pick it up. So the letter said from last Tuesday, I had a week to pick it up. But I ended up calling them and saying, look, so as of this, this past Tuesday, it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So anybody out there, if you ever wonder what happens to a car you leave on the side of the road,
that was in PA. I'm sure other states are different. So
that's true. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Wow. So I'm sure the car's in a salvage yard somewhere.
So let's talk about Tom and my car. What are you going to do with yours, Tom?
So, I just got my title yesterday.
Wow.
I don't know why. I think the state hates me, but I just got my title yesterday. So my van's been parked in one of my 3 garages because I have a car problem. And I had a neighbor kind of say, listen, I'm really getting tired of looking at it. And I was actually getting kind of tired of looking at it myself. I actually used it I bought a ton of patio furniture. And I actually used it. I loaded it up all the way to the ceiling. And like, I couldn't have even done it with my own truck because I have a short bed. So it actually came in handy. Again, I used it and I got some awesome use out of it. Now that I have the title, I'm gonna clean it up and take some photos and then list it. So I'm gonna list it for $900 and I'm gonna see where the negotiations go. But I know one thing, it's gonna sell more than what I paid for it because I actually put money into it and the vehicle runs better and stops better and
so your neighbor actually told you they were tired to look at it. Is this the same neighbor that isn't cutting their grass?
No. This is one of the neighbors that I actually have a decent relationship with. He was just kind of joking, but
yeah.
Well, good luck with the selling process because I've listed mine for like a week and a half now, and it's all been trolls. People are so interested. I got 5 million messages. People are interested in it, but then they don't show up or they cancel at the last minute. So it hasn't been a good process. I thought it would be super simple because when I went to buy a $500 car, I struggled to find one that ran. Now I did list it I have it listed for $750 now, but I did put some money into it as well. But it actually runs and drives, so I thought it would be no problem. But yeah, I've been having a hard time getting serious buyers. So
you started your listing at $750?
I listed it. I think I started at $800. I dropped it to like
$800. That vehicle is not worth it, dude. It's got a massive exhaust leak.
Yeah, but it's not exhaust is an easy fix. That's like
that's
a
not,
50.
No, that's
not an exhaust leak. That's a sports exhaust.
Exactly. It's a performance machine. You saw my.
Do you know how much work it is to remove those exhaust manifolds, especially on an old vehicle like that? That's a lot of.
I mean, but anyway, I mean, it's not going to be. I'm just telling you, Tom. I don't think you're gonna. You think you're gonna sell yours easily for $900? I don't think so.
I will prove
You're in
you
for a rude awakening.
I'm not saying I'm going to get $900 for it, but I'm definitely going to get more than I paid for it. I will sell it.
Well, Marco, did you actually put that there's an exhaust leak on the car in the ad?
Yes, I did.
Plus,
it's not inspected. That's the problem.
I want to read. I want to hear the description that you.
Well, you can view it on Craigslist.
All right, I'm pulling up.
So what do I search for on Craigslist? Piece of shit, green Honda.
Hey, by the way, who won this $500 car challenge? Because
yes, Tom, you forgot the.
Why don't I get to that point?
So no, Marco won barely, 571 points. I came runner-up with 527, and the only thing for that is the social media challenge and the fuel economy.
The fuel economy was a big key there. But
so before we start casting stones at Marco, he actually did win this.
That's right. And on that note, I think we should end the chat or the live stream because we're at an hour. So
wait a second. A 1993 Honda Accord LX. Boy, that's a different one. It says it's for $1,200.
See, I know, and Hondas always keep their value, but anyway, guys, I want to end it here. But thanks, guys, for watching. Any other questions, go ahead and comment on the video, and we'll definitely answer them. Also, if you're ever interested in participating in one of these, again, comment, and we'll get the information out to you. Thanks to Tom Gear for organizing this. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
And I will see you guys in the next video. All right, take care, guys. See ya.